Hello Year 3, welcome to today's guided reading lesson. We're going to begin by reading our text, picking up from where we were yesterday before we go into our first activity. So, page 93.
Well, I suppose you're just off to find them now, aren't you?
Well, no, they're
What?
too busy, Fizz said, telling part of the truth. The old woman looked at him closely through her vertiginously balanced spectacles for a moment.
That's not all, is it?
She asked.
You can tell me.
When Fizz said nothing, he didn't know what to say, she stepped closer and pulled another pair of glasses out of her handbag. These were on a little stick, so that instead of looping the arms around her ears and letting them rest on her nose like you would do with ordinary glasses, she held them out in front of her and moved them backwards and forwards to get him into focus. Peered at through two pairs of spectacles, Fizz felt he was under uncomfortably close scrutiny. He scuffed his feet in the dirt and thought that maybe he should be leaving.
Your parents don't know you're here,
she said suddenly. Fizz nodded.
Oh, you poor thing, she went on.
Left to wander, uncared for and all alone. I can't bear to see a little chap like you dangling dolefully at a loose end like this, abandoned and forgotten.
Let us help you.
The old man looked thoughtful and closed his eyes, as if he was thinking about what good deed they might be able to do for the poor boy.
I tell you what, she said,
putting the second pair of glasses back in her handbag.
We shall pretend to be your parents for you. That way you can join the library and get your lovely library card. And then you can borrow as many books as they will let you and go home and read them, all to your dear heart's content. What do you say, you poor boy? Just our little good deed for you, yes?
For a moment, Fizz didn't know what to say. It sounded sort of like a good idea and it was tempting, but he knew it was wrong to lie. Even to someone who looked like Mr. Toad. It didn't seem right to let these two old people tell lies for him either, even if it would get him a library card. I don't mean to be rude, he said, suddenly coming up with a good excuse, but I think you look, too old to be my parents.
Oh!
The old lady said, as if she were surprised. She thought for a moment.
Well,
she went on,
we could say we're your grandparents.
Yes. I think when it comes to filling in forms, the one is just as good as the other. Are you sure?
Yes, absolutely, she said. There'll be no trouble there.
Thoughts of all the books in the library, all the exciting adventures that would become available for him to read flooded through Fizz's head and washed all his worries about lying clean out. Wow, this was too good to be true. He could get his library card and his mum and dad would never need to know that he'd wandered off. Brilliant. Oh, thanks, that's really kind of you, he said to the old couple. He was aware, of course, that time was drawing on, and the longer he stayed away from the circus, the more likely it would be that someone would notice he was missing. Can we do it now, please? I'm in a bit of a hurry.
Yes,
shouted the old man. His head was still cocked to one side and his eyes were shut, but a big grin had sprung out from underneath his moustache. He was rubbing his hands together.
Yes, of course we can, the old lady added. By the way, before we go in, what's your name, little boy?
My name?
Yes, we'll need to know your name to fill in the forms, won't we? Must get our story straight before we go in.
Fizz mumbled his name so hurriedly and so quietly that it sounded a bit like flump.
Pardon?
The old lady said. She'd got a notepad and a pencil out of her handbag and was waiting to make a note. This is where it had all gone wrong before, Fizzlebert thought. Up until he told those kids his name, they'd all been friendly and kind, but the moment he'd said it out loud, they all laughed and ran off. They'd thought it was stupid. He didn't want the same thing to happen again. It was one thing to be laughed at by kids your own age, but to be laughed at by a pair of OAPs would take the biscuit. Interesting phrase that, takes the biscuit. I'm not sure what sort of biscuit it is that's being taken, but I'm in favour of biscuits generally, and to have them taken away is never a good thing. Unless, of course, you've eaten a whole packet already, in which case it's probably in your own best interest that they should be removed. Suddenly a thought came into Fizz's brain, like the ping of a microwave oven saying, "This idea is now ready." "My name," he said, "is Smith. John Smith." There was a rigger at the circus called John Smith, and Fizz had heard him moaning about having such an ordinary name, which is probably why it had come to him just at that moment, when he needed a normal name to use. The old lady wrote it down on her pad and said, "Okay, you call us Grandma and Grandpa, and let us do the talking. You'll be a fully signed up member of the library in no time at all." Now it's my turn to explain the type of question we'll be looking at throughout today. How does Fizz show that he doesn't want to tell the truth about where his parents are? And for this, we'll be reading from page 93. "Well, I suppose you're just off to find them now, aren't you?" Well, no, they're... What? "Too busy," Fizz said, telling part of the truth. The old woman looked at him closely through her vertiginously balanced spectacles for a moment. "That's not all, is it?" she asked. "You can tell me." When Fizz said nothing, he didn't know what to say. She stepped closer and pulled another pair of glasses out of her handbag. So an important part of this question is the fact where it says show. Okay, we're often referring to show, not tell when we're talking about inference questions. So really there's two things that Fizz does on this page which shows us that he doesn't want to tell the truth about where his parents are. And this is just because he's a nice boy, he doesn't want to get into trouble, and he knows he shouldn't really be there. So it's not a huge, terrible lie, but it is still a lie, and because he's an honest boy, he still feels bad about it. How does Fizz show that he doesn't want to tell the truth about where his parents are? Well, he does quite a lot of stumbling and mumbling, doesn't he? So he goes, so that's a really clear indication that he doesn't want to tell the full truth about where they are. So the first point I'm going to make, because with these questions, we want to try and make as many points as we possibly can to ensure that we get the full mark, even if there's a little bit of crossover sometimes and we run the risk of repeating ourselves. That's better than not including a point. So, he mumbles and stumbles when questioned, and also further down the page as well, he's asked a direct question and he just doesn't say anything at all. So the old lady asks him another question and he just stays completely silent rather than answering her. And I think that's just because he doesn't want to tell another lie. So we're going to make that a separate point as well, because they are two different points. One is from further up the page, one is from further down the page. And doing this is a good habit to get into because it allows you to get the maximum amount of points that are on offer to you. Okay, now in all likelihood, this question would kind of be a 1 point question, but in providing two clear different answers, we're giving ourselves the best possible chance to get that 1 point, because it might be that the first one doesn't quite fit the criteria of what the mark scheme's looking for. So in providing two, we're giving ourselves more of a chance. And they are two distinct points. It could be easy just to put these into one and just say, he looks a bit awkward. But by being more specific in saying exactly what he's doing, he's mumbling and stumbling further up, and then he stays completely silent, we're giving ourselves the... Now it's our turn to practice together. So I've written another question on the board, and this one is taken from page 94. So the next page after we've just looked at. It's a very similar kind of question. I've worded it in a different way. I've done that for a reason, because quite often the question types will be mixed up, the wording of it will be will be changed so that they're not always going to be the same type of wording in your questions. So this one says, Fizz feels uncomfortable. So it's made a statement. Fizz feels uncomfortable. True or false? Give reasons for your answer. Well, let's have a look at page 94 together now. She held them out in front of her and moved them backwards and forwards to get him into focus. Talking about glasses. Peered at through 2 pairs of spectacles, Fizz felt he was under uncomfortably close scrutiny. He scuffed his feet in the dirt and thought that maybe he should be leaving. Your parents don't know you're here, she said suddenly. Fizz nodded. Oh, you poor thing, she went on. Left to wander, uncared for and all alone. I can't bear to see a little chap like you dangling dolefully at a loose end like this, abandoned and forgotten. Let us help you. The old man looked thoughtful and closed his eyes, as if he was thinking about what good deed they might be able to do for the poor boy. Now, I stopped there because the question actually states it's on page 94. I did briefly go on to page 95 to finish off that sentence, but I'm not going to go any further from that. So now that we've read the text again, let's remind ourselves of the question and then think about the points that we can make. Fizz feels uncomfortable. True or false? Give reasons for your answer. So from the extract we've just read, the first thing I want you to do is to pause the video now and ask yourself the answer to that question. Is it true or false, first of all? Do you think he feels uncomfortable? Okay, now that you've decided that, you need to give reasons for your answer, because if you've just said true, which hopefully you did because he does feel uncomfortable, if you've just said true, that's not going to get us the maximum amount of marks available in that, okay? We need to say why it's true. How does he show that he's uncomfortable? And I think there are 3 points that we can make here to give ourselves the best possible chance. I want you to pause the video now, and I want you to write at least 2, possibly even 3 bullet points of things that show that he is feeling uncomfortable. Let's check together then. Did you get any of these 3 points? The fact that he scuffed his feet in the dirt, and we often do that when we're feeling uncomfortable. We mess about with our feet a little bit, and he was doing that in the text. Secondly, that he was thinking about leaving. And thirdly, and we've just copied this down from the text says, Fizz felt he was under uncomfortably close scrutiny. Now it's your turn for independent work. So the way that this will work is I will put a page from the book on the screen alongside a question that I want you to answer. I want you to then answer it in the way that we've been practicing together, writing it down on lined paper so that we can see evidence of it. Okay? Here's your first one. How do you get on there, Year 3? I hope you found the information easy to follow and easy to use on the screen. Send over your work to the Year 3 email address so that all Year 3 teachers can have a look at it. Well done for today, and I will see you in the morning.